It's Monday, July 7th, 2025, a monumental tragedy in Texas. The big, beautiful bill is finally law, and why self-driving cars will never work on a mass scale. Next on the AM Update. At least 66 people are dead in central Texas after devastating flash floods slammed Texas hill country, with water rescues taking place along the Guadalupe River, which rose rapidly early Friday morning to a height of a 2-story building. A dozen are still missing from Camp Mystic in Kerr County, a children's summer camp, according to officials. Of the fatalities, 59 have occurred so far in Kerr County. Its Sheriff Larry Litha said at a news conference on Sunday, an increase from 43 deaths reported the previous night. The dead include 38 adults and 21 children. Texas Lieutenant Governor Ken Paxton gave an update on Sunday about the ongoing search and recovery efforts.
We stand on the rock of our faith through now, but there have been dramatic stories. I told one to some of you that were on the set yesterday on the big weekend. I know Joey was there, about Camp Mystic, where a camp counselor smashed a window open. We know this story from the girl who was telling her parents as they drove her back to Dallas, and they went out the window in their nightgowns. They walked in bare feet in neck-high water, these little girls. They swam for about 10 or 15 minutes. Can you imagine? In the darkness and the rushing waters and trees coming by you and rocks coming by you. And then they get to a spot on the land. They don't even know how they got to the next spot. And then a helicopter came and picked them up. Incredible stories. A young man who saved his fiancée and her children and his mother, but he cut his arm through the glass that he broke, and we don't know what happened to him. But
yeah, that was probably the story that he mentioned there at the very end. That was the story that stuck out the most. I'll read that to you in a little while. One of the other stories came from these brothers who were at one of the camps along the Guadalupe River. They talked to KSAT TV about their harrowing escape.
I'm one of the campers from Camp Lahana, one of the camps that flooded, and I had a first-hand view of the flood, and so the cabins were flooding and the walls were like they broke down, and all of the campers in those cabins had to go up on the rafters, and they had to wait there until they could swim out. And my brother here, he had to swim out of his cabin.
The flood started getting bigger, and it was going up to, we had bunk beds in our cabins, and it was going up to the top bunk, and we had one choice, and we had to swim out of our cabins.
What time was it?
It was like, we woke up at 2.
Yeah, we had to wake up at like 4 a.m. But on the way here, we saw all of like the other camps destroyed, like obliterated.
Unbelievably harrowing tales from these unbelievably terrible floods. It sounds like, for the most part, NOAA and the National Weather Service did all that they could in terms of early warning. But the problem was that these floods happened in the wee hours of the morning. Just an incomprehensibly perfect storm of several bad factors. And obviously, just continue to lift up those who are still looking for their loved ones, or those who have gotten word that their loved ones are gone. Lift them up in prayers for comfort. Moving on, Elon Musk says the two-party system is broken, and he just launched a new political party to prove it. On Saturday, Musk announced on X, that's his social media platform, about the formation of the America Party, calling it a direct response to what he described as a corrupt political establishment that no longer represents the American people. The announcement followed a viral July 4th poll on X, where Musk asked whether voters wanted independence from what he called the two-party system. Over 1.2 million votes were cast, with 65.4% saying yes. He said on X, quote, "By a factor of 2 to 1, you want a new political party, and you shall have it." Musk went on X to say that even though this is going to be a new national party, his goals at the outset are very narrow. Quote, "One way to execute on this would be to laser focus on just 2 or 3 Senate seats in 8 to 10 House districts. Given the razor-thin legislative margins, that would be enough to serve as the deciding vote on contentious laws, ensuring that they serve the true will of the people." Who knows how this is going to turn out? I don't think he's in for a fun awakening as to the realities of American electorates, but we'll see. He's got enough money to burn. We'll see where that goes. One of his more, let's say, passive-aggressive critics at the White House is Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who took a little jab at Elon Musk over his creation of the American Party on Sunday.
And he announced this weekend that he is starting a new political party
Does that worry the Trump administration?
Look, the principles of Doge were very popular. I think if you looked at the polling, Elon was not. So I believe that the boards of directors at his various companies wanted him to come back and run those companies, which he is better at than anyone. So I imagine that those board of directors did not like this announcement yesterday and will be encouraging him to focus on his business activities, not his political activities.
Well, in the aftermath of Independence Day, we are now living in the world of the big, beautiful bill, which passed since we last spoke. House Speaker Mike Johnson took a victory lap over the weekend, touting the economic upsides.
What we did in this bill is we made permanent the 2017 Trump's tax cuts, and that was geared for lower and middle class Americans. In spite of everything they said, the bottom 20% of earners saw their lowest federal tax rate in 40 years. Now we're building upon that. We just made that permanent, and we're building upon it because now we cut tax on overtime and tips and had more tax relief for seniors, and we're giving everybody a tax cut, and that's going to help the economy. It's going to be jet fuel. Small business owners, entrepreneurs, risk takers, the people that provide the jobs, manufacturers, farmers get assistance here, and that will lift the economy. The Council of Joint Economic Advisors is expecting a 3% growth rate in the economy. That will be incredible. They're expecting 4 million additional jobs to be added. The average American, the typical American household, will have $13,000 more in take-home pay. This is a great thing for people who go to work every day. They're going to feel that, and we're excited about the upcoming election cycle in 26 because people will be riding an economic high just as we did after the first 2 years of the first Trump administration.
On the issue of the big beautiful bill and immigration, President Trump posted on Independence Day, quote, "This July 4th weekend, I want to give a big thank you to the heroic ICE officers fighting every day to reclaim our sovereignty and freedom. One of the most exciting parts of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act is that it includes all of the funding and resources that ICE needs to carry out the largest mass deportation operation in history. Our brave ICE officers who are under daily violent assault will finally have the tools and support that they need." We'll have a story about one of those assaults coming up later on. But first, Border Czar Tom Homan says he's excited to get down to brass tacks after Immigration and Customs Enforcement, along with the Department of Homeland Security, is fully funded for this deportation program.
So here's what the message no one gets across. You can claim asylum in this country. If you go to the last 10 years of immigration court data, nearly 9 out of 10 people who claim asylum get an order removal because they simply don't qualify for asylum. They're not escaping fear and persecution from the homeland because of race, religion, political affiliation. They're coming here for a better life, and I get that. But that's not asylum. We're enforcing laws, and the great success we're having proves you enforce the law, you can secure the border. You enforce the law, you can make this country safe again. That's what we're doing.
At the halfway point in the year, Deputy FBI Director Dan Bongino posted his list of accomplishments at the FBI. Of course, they're not moving on some issues as fast as most of us would like them to be, but they're not doing nothing, as Bongino pointed out. He said the Violent Crime Initiative, dubbed Summer Heat, and other initiatives around the country have had the murder rate trending down. He said emphasis on violent crime at the FBI has led to the arrest of 14,000 violent criminals, 62% increase in arrests from the same time period last year, rescued 100 children from being preyed on while arresting 825 violent child predators and 140 human traffickers. Agents locked up 51 foreign intelligence operatives for spying and smuggling. He also said they helped with the deportation of 18,000 illegals, seized 44,000 kilos of cocaine, 3,500 kilos of meth, and over 1,200 kilos of fentanyl, and locked up 3 of the top 10 most wanted FBI targets. So that's an update. Dispatches from FBI land. Quickly before the break, here's Senator Cory Booker ringing out the month of June by talking about Jesus and trans kids.
You want to know where Jesus would be today? He'd be with the gay kids that are being demonized. He would be with the trans kid who is being vilified. Look around who society condemns. He'd be in prisons with the condemned. That's where I think Jesus would stand and would be calling on all of us. Cast the first stone. We're calling all of us. Show me your mercy and your love.
Yeah, I don't need to know where Jesus is today as if it's some sort of rhetorical exercise. I know where he is today. That's the quickest way, what you just heard there. The quickest way of actually telling whether or not somebody has a misunderstanding of the Bible. I know where Jesus is today. He's sitting at the right hand of God. and ruling with God the Father. That's where he is today. It's not some sort of rhetorical exercise. And where he is today and what he is today is the same as he has been throughout all eternity. So there's no need to do with the rhetorical exercise and games. The same Jesus that said he made them male and female is the same Jesus that is alive today. Just a little fun fact there for you, Senator Booker, when we come back. An assault at an ICE facility in Texas, raising more questions. Just a harrowing hero's tale out of these floods. A dad sacrificed himself to save his family. And a very simple reason why self-driving cars are not the future. Next.
I even think we're going to have a UFC fight. Does anybody watch UFC, the great day in the world? We're going to have a UFC fight. We're going to have a UFC fight. Think of this, on the grounds of the White House. We have a lot of land there. We're going to build a little, we're not. Dana's going to do it. Dana's great, one of a kind. We're going to have a UFC
President Trump
championship fight.
Last week at the Iowa State Fairgrounds, making good on a promise to kick off the 250th anniversary or birthday of America in the state of Iowa, promising a UFC fight on the White House lawn. He made those comments amid a slew of other announcements regarding the America's 250th birthday celebration taking place over an entire year. He says these will be unifying, patriotic, family-friendly events all over the country, including the Patriot Games, taking the best high school athletes and child athletes from around the country. Aforementioned UFC fight designations at departments all across the country, federal departments all across the country. Just a lot of pomp and circumstance that President Trump announced to kick off America's 250th birthday celebration. Several suspects are in custody after a police officer was injured in a shooting at an Immigration and Customs Enforcement detention facility in Alvarado, Texas, in the late night hours of the 4th of July. Just before 11 p.m., the Alvarado Police Department said it was called to the 1200 block of Sunflower Lane outside the ICE Prairieland detention facility on report of a suspicious person. When officers arrived, they saw a person who appeared to be carrying a firearm, according to a news release. Alvarado police said that when one of the first responding officers tried to engage with the person, an unknown number of suspects opened fire. At least one bullet struck an officer in the neck. The injured officer was flown from the scene to a Fort Worth hospital, was treated, and later released. According to Alvarado police, several armed suspects were taken into custody after trying to flee the scene. Now, what could that be? The first thing that I thought was cartels, gangs, things of that nature. One of their buddies was locked up in this ICE detention facility. They were trying to bust him out. Just incredibly evil and heinous stuff. Hopefully we'll have more details on what exactly happened here. I teased this story in the first segment. This is one of the stories that stuck out amidst the floods in Texas. A Texas dad of 2 died while trying to save his family from the devastating flooding, nearly cutting off his arm when he punched through a window as their home quickly filled with water. Julian Ryan, a 27-year-old, his mother, his fiancée, Christina Wilson, and the couple's 6-year-old and 13-month-old children, all huddled in the bedroom of their trailer home in Ingram as the surging waters of the Guadalupe River shocked them awake at 4 a.m. on Friday. Wilson told the local TV station KHOU, quote, "It just started pouring in and we had to fight the door to get it closed to make sure not too much water got in. With his 2 babies already perched on a floating mattress, the door of the bedroom burst open, flooding the room, and Ryan made a drastic move to save his family. The brave father punched a hole in the bedroom window, severing an artery in his arm and almost cutting the limb clean off, according to family members. Wilson told the outlet that she repeatedly called 911, but no one was able to get to their home in time to save her valiant fiancé. Ryan told his family as he bled out, quote, "I'm sorry, I'm not going to make it. I love y'all." The waters continued to rise until the force ripped the trailer in half, and the family was able to flee to safety without their brave dad, son, and husband, according to the New York Times. That's a dad taking action. Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. That's a picture of a dad right there, sacrificing literally life and limb to save his family. Just a harrowing tale. But even in the midst of just tragic developments that are completely... This flooding story is just a reminder that We live in a fallen world. Bad stuff happens. Bad stuff just happens. But in the midst of those things that are completely out of our control, completely out of anybody's control, there are still rays of light, the imago Dei within us. This dad knew what he had to do to save his family, and he willingly followed through. Don't know how I'm going to transition from that to this. Malcolm Gladwell is a prolific author. Now, he is what some, I think, dumb people would maybe idealize as a genius. He's not a genius. He's just a very compelling storyteller, and he has some interesting things to say. One thing that I found interesting that he had to say recently, he spoke at a Wall Street Journal confab about why the prospect of all driverless vehicles is impossible. It's for a really simple reason that I'm kicking myself I didn't think of. Listen to this.
Driverless cars in an urban setting don't work because they work too well, right? So what we went to Phoenix where they had Waymo, and I had my producer get in the Waymo, and I ran alongside the Waymo, and I would cut the Waymo off, and the Waymo, of course, because it's got like 58 sensors, would stop instantly, right? And then I would run circles around the Waymo, and the Waymo would sit there patiently waiting for me to get out of the way. And I realized if every car on the road is a driverless car, then there is no penalty whatsoever to pedestrians misbehaving. If you're a kid, why don't 11-year-old boys play soccer on the streets on 42nd Street in Manhattan? Because they're going to get hit by a car and killed. But if every car is a Waymo, they're all going to stop and they're going to wait there for hours until you finish their game. The Waymo is, so the whole point of deterrence, the reason deterrence with human drivers work is that the driver will make a mistake and kill you inadvertently. Waymo will not make a mistake. People are always saying the problem with driverless cars is they'll make mistakes. No. They don't make mistakes, and that's the problem.
That is such a patently obvious observation that we cannot have all driverless cars because it will incentivize poor behavior from pedestrians. I'm kicking myself. I didn't think of that. It's not because they're going to make mistakes. It's because they will prioritize not making mistakes. Such a simple truth. All driverless cars are not in the future. And finally, air analysis, slightly acidic, mostly necessary. If you listen to my interview with Dr. Calvin Beisner, I teased this question at the end of that interview. I asked, when it comes to the global warming debate, what is the argument we're actually having? This came to my mind because during the course of that interview, I heard Dr. Beisner say a couple of times that yes, we're ceding that global warming can be caused by human behavior, but it's negligible at best. Now, I know Dr. Beisner. I've booked him, and it's been a long time since I've booked him on any shows. His whole priority and his organization's entire priority is economics. And what it actually, if I could put the thesis of his organization, is that cheap, abundant energy really is the best predictor of human liberty, human ingenuity, human freedom. That's basically the thesis, if I could boil it down to one little thing. So I'm not really worried about him. I know where he's coming from. But it surprised me nonetheless that he's ceding that now, because I don't recall the last time I'd really paid close attention to his work, him actually ceding that argument. He does believe that human beings can contribute to global warming, but it's just negligible. So it prompted a question in my mind. What is this debate really about? Maybe I'm late to the party here, but it always seemed to me like the debate we were trying to have, if we were having this debate at all on the right, and as I articulated during that interview, we usually just dismiss the Greta Thunbergs, rightfully so, because they've just become cartoonish and clowns, and we're not actually having a debate. They're just emotionally blackmailing us, and that's it. That's basically what's coming from the green crazies. But when it comes to the actual science, we're not having a debate. We're not having a debate about global warming and what contributes to it. We're really not. The debate that we're actually having is, who is this planet for? Was this planet created for us, or were we created for the planet? The biblical worldview says the planet was created for us. Therefore, we must prioritize human flourishing. See, I think that's the debate we're actually having here. And I think their side actually has recognized that. And they're happy to have who contributes to global warming because it actually obfuscates their meta argument. They're on the side of we're here for the Earth. That's their argument. And so, of course, all of their solutions are going to be to the benefit, allegedly, of planet Earth and to the detriment of humans. We're parasites. That's the meta debate that they're having. Well, we have been over here trying to have who actually contributes. Can we actually contribute to global warming? So that wasn't the first question that I asked. The second question I want to ask is this, and I'm still making my mind up on this. Is it worth it to cede the point that yes, humans contribute to global warming, if and only if it means we get to have the argument that we're actually having that I just articulated? That this is not really a debate about global warming. It's a debate about who we are as humans and what this planet is for. Is it for us or are we for the planet? So is it worth it to cede that point in order to have the actual argument that I think the left has been having and they've been dominating on for the last generation? And they're happy to do any other obfuscations in order to hide the argument that they're actually having. Is it worth it to cede that we are contributing to global warming? Or is that a non-starter? I'm still making my mind up about that. Let me know at Real AM Update what you think. That's going to do it for a Monday. Good to be back at it. Talk with you again tomorrow. I'm Aaron McIntire, and this is the AM Update.